Okay, good afternoon. Going to get this out of the way. And my wife and I have had COVID in June. June has been a wasted month for me. Today's the best I've felt in 22 days. Anyway, it's almost over. I'll cut this part out of the video that I saved. But anyway, we had COVID, and then we took Paxlovid, and then we had rebound COVID, and it was no fun at all. It's a good thing I had the vaccinations, or we'd probably be dead by now. It really knocked us out. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let me bring this back up just for a second for an intro page, and I'm going to start here. I'll cut this other out that the information I just gave you. Anyway, as you know, this is called Unleashing the Power of HCSI Investor Software. I call it an evolutionary webinar series because I'm always changing things as I go along. I think to make things more efficient. John, by the way, I just JHR36, I changed those warehouse views. I think that's the way you wanted them, but I'd never noticed that because I use a wider screen. Now, one thing I'm doing today, Paul said he was trying to review a video, and he just isn't focusing as well right now, or he couldn't see these. So I made these a little bit larger. I went into my settings, and I'm displaying these at 175. 150 is what it's normally projected for this monitor. So I'm trying to make this a little bit larger. What happens though is then it takes away some of the screen real estate. But I think we can make it work and live with this. So let me tell you a little bit what I've been doing this week. First of all, I sent out that video on, I think it was Sunday, about tracking these user groups. And I'm doing this for, I need to get over here, okay. I'm doing the tracking these user groups for one reason only: to cut down on prospecting time. I'm going to turn off the intraday update because that kind of slows me down. Anyway, just a second. I had to cut off a video and an audio there. Anyway, back to the warehouse groups. I'm using these groups. Well, this is slow today. I must have a lot going on. These scans right here for the end of day, and I just wanted to give us a list every day of potential stocks to trade based upon a relatively low risk entries, and that's what that video was about on Sunday. And these are the two groups. You know this already. I'm just going to review it. These are undercut end of day setting up after a pullback, and you can see that the 3 is below the 6 on all of these, and on some of them the VPOC is below, or volume point of control is also negative, but not on all of them. And then the other one is stocks that have crossed over the 3 and the 6 within a 2-day window. So they won't be long gone. And what you can do is you can track these every day because they're generated every day, and you can just go into an intraday view, for example, I'm just going to, I wanted to close that down, make sure I'm focused here. I'm just going to go down here to my daily views and look at intraday. Oh, I screwed that up, sorry. I'm a little punchy today. Let me pause. I said to go down to an intraday view, but I'm going to do that in a minute. I've made some changes here. So this is right here. This is this view right here under D, end of day watch list. Setting up after the pullback and an undercut after the pullback. Now, I do have columns right here for intraday, so you can see that even though these are end of day, you can track them intraday to see which ones are going up and which ones are going down. See if these are working. Now, okay, this is setting up after the pullback. This is the undercut, and you can see on the undercut, this is the cross, the 3 cross the 6, and you can see that some of these are following through today. So I have both the end of day and the intraday in here. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit clumsy going in to some of these views. So what I decided to do is, rather than having them just in here under A, B, C, D, and so on, I decided to, under User SmartGroups, and if you, or when you download the webinar files again, you'll find that here are the 2 sets of user groups that are in here. But you can also go to the add-on list where these 2 reside, the 2 that I just showed you. They reside here, and you can just prospect directly off of these groups. So, for example, this instant watch list, 3 and 6 crossed after the pullback. If I just want to go in to, say, my files here and look for a 10-period crossover today, this is under Ron's Daily Prospecting. These are the ones I use all the time. If I just look for the crossover, I can see that these crossed over today. So what it does is it just eliminates looking at a bunch of stuff except what you're trying to focus on, and I'm trying to focus on these stocks that crossed over today. Now this is the end of day version. Here's the intraday version, and I can see on intraday that VCEL crossed over yesterday and it's following through today. The range is at 57.21, but let's look at Group 1 Automotive, which is holding up better today at 96.83. So if I bring this up, clean some of this up, you can see the weekly chart is up. I always try to look at the weekly chart first. This is there were 4 weeks up and 1 week down, and the week is starting positive, or it's positive this week here. But this is where the volume point of control went positive right here, and you can see it in this column here. Now, this is still congesting. This is a expensive stock, Group 1 Automotive. If I were interested in this stock, I would go and look and see if there is a potential credit or debit spread available so I could play this, because I'm not going to lay out that kind of capital to play a stock. It's just I don't play that game. Yeah, I could buy 20, 30, 40 shares of it, but and if they move, you can still make money doing that. But I'd rather limit my risk with debit spreads. So anyway, this is just one view. And here's a 3-6 crossover right here. You can see that these crossed over the past 2 days. But it's just eliminating everything but. Okay, now, it's getting, now I want to take you back where I really wanted to go with this. I'm just showing you that this information is available in the designer also, and then you can go in and prospect directly. This thing is slow today. But also what I've done is I moved these groups from the warehouse. This may be a little confusing at first. These groups from the warehouse, A, B, and C, which are the Woodward and Brown Smart Groups, the stocks and groups moving up and down at the end of the day, which are generated from these intraday views. It captures these intraday views and they go into here. Now, I mean, this is great. You can go in here, you can click on this, and let's go to C. These are the, I need to go to all securities to show this. These are the stocks and groups which are up today. You can see that this column is up. And it's sorted, if I do the raw combo, it's sorted on the industry group. But if you want to use like the VPOC crossover, which I just showed you, you would have to make a group of this and then go in and then apply those views. So I thought to simplify this, to make it easier for all of us, this list of stocks right here is also, if you look right here, stocks and groups moving up and down intraday is also right here. So I am duplicating that view, or I shouldn't say duplicating it, I am presenting it also in the designer, so you can just come in here. So rather than working from the warehouse to begin with, let's go in and look at these stocks. First of all, let's just rebuild the User SmartGroups. I'm throwing a lot at you here, and it's probably confusing, but it'll become clear as I go through this. Well, it looks like they're buying the market again. It's the internals, like Robert pointed out, are really bad. Internals are still bad. Anyway, okay. This group, right, it isn't quite finished. I must have a heavier load on this computer today for some reason. Come on. Okay. So these were just updated. And this is the third folder down, 100 stocks and groups moving up and down intraday. Now I'm going to go into the stocks and groups up intraday, $15 and up. I have 15 and up and then 1 to 15, both up and down. So I'm going to go to the 15 and up, and now I'm going to click through to the warehouse views. And rather than having to go into C, I can go in and start doing prospecting based upon these other scans. So let's go back to, well, let's do something I call impulse reaction. It's fan uptrend, and I'll use the intraday version. What the heck is impulse reaction? Well, first of all, let me point out, I'll bring my arrow up, that I'm in this stocks and groups up. So directly from the designer, and then I'm in this right here, impulse reactions, VPOC 1010, fan uptrend intraday. What does that mean? Well, it means that these stocks, and here's AEHR, let's bring it up. Here is the impulse move, and here's the reaction move. You want to trade, you don't want to trade the impulse. I mean, you get in late. You want to trade the reaction or the setup. That's what we're looking for, a setup there. Let me clean these arrows off. So this is the impulse, and then this is the reaction. So we're looking to get into these at a better price. Now I'm going to drop down. Let's look at the next one. Well, this isn't much of an impulse here. I don't know why that one came up, but let's look at another one. This one's not so great either. Here was the impulse, and I guess this would be the long reaction here. It's starting to set up again a little bit. The first one was a really good example, and here's another good example. Here's your impulse move, and then your reaction move, and you're looking to get in on the reaction and not the initial impulse. Now, here was a long impulse move. Here's lots of reactions. It's kind of setting up. Not a real great example. Okay, but that is just one of my scans. I've had that around a long time, and it's actually, if you look at the charts, you can find some good candidates. Now I'm going to go to 3. This is a 10 period crossover again. See this column right here? These are zeros. That means they all crossed over yesterday, and since I'm prospecting directly in this smart group, I know that all of these stocks are up today, okay? So I don't spend a bunch of time looking at stocks that aren't moving up. So here's commercial metals, and the VPOC crossed over. I'm going to put these on a timer here. Okay, there is the crossover, and this is setting up. Here's your impulse move. Here is the pullback. We're looking for the pullback, but we did get a crossover yesterday. Still getting used to this drawing program. Let's look at Dell Technologies. Okay. There is the crossover. And it tried to go today, ran into some resistance here. But this is a good example here. This is your impulse. We want to be buying, if we can, coming off of the 3 crossing the 6. I hope you're all convinced by now that none of these stocks go anywhere in either direction without the 3 crossing the 6. It's just a good way to prospect for stocks, and also I'm using the VPOC. So, okay, now let me get back to this arrow. What's a shortcut here? Control Shift 2. Let's look at another one. Say Canadian Pacific Holdings. Okay, here's your VPOC crossover. This is a little bit sloppy here. By the way, I don't know if you do this or not, but a lot of times rather than bringing 2 charts up, I'll just do an alternate W and look at the weekly this way. And then do an alternate D and go back to the daily. If you don't have 2 charts up and you want a little more speed. Okay, so that's another way to do this. I've got all kinds of ways to scan here. Here's the 3 and 6 crossover with the 2-day window. Let's take a look at these. So here is the crossover right here. I'm going to try to use my control arrows. No, I didn't do it. Sorry about that. Okay, here is your crossover right here. But what's the context of this chart? The context is it's in a long-term downtrend. So you're going to be dealing with a lot of resistance just by looking at this. But this is an early entry if you like to play this kind of stocks, if you're looking for a bottom fish. Now you can see that it has been under accumulation. Here's a Here's a strength seen returning. Here's stopping volume strength seen returning, and it's moving up, and the 3 is crossing the 6. But then you have to always look at the context here, because there's short-term resistance right here. There's more short-term resistance right here. On the other side of it, here is what I would consider a low pivot, and it went up, and this is a higher low. Whoops, right here. This is a higher low pivot. So we're starting to see some activity in this to the upside, especially when the 3 crosses the 6. So just look at it that way, or that's what I try to do anyway. Now, another way to do this, and I'm going to move over to the right. If you don't want to look at stocks in a downtrend, I do have these columns here, EMA fan trend up. So if I click on this, now I know the top 3 have a fan up. So let's look at it this way. Now notice the difference. You can see the 200, the 100, the 50, and the 18 going up, and also the 3 crossed the 6 yesterday. I can never remember that shortcut key. What is it? Oh, wow. 3 crossed the 6 yesterday, which would be right here. Now your chances, I'm going to use the word chances, probably shouldn't, but I think the odds are more in your favor here, because the stock has already proven that it wants to go up. So let's look at this. Here's your impulse. Here's your reaction. This could be considered a cup, and maybe forming a handle right now. You have to be wary of the overhead resistance. But what do we have here? We have volume coming into this, so we have demand coming in on these 2 bars as this stock is trying to break out of here. What's the group? It's 68. The group is flat. Let's go to this one. I have to go back and click on this so I can go to a different chart. And I don't know. Okay, I haven't rebuilt the industry groups. That's why this green bar is dropping down there. Let's just do that. I want to see if that fixes it. Any questions? Am I confusing you totally? Okay, thanks. All right, let's go back and look at that. Now see how that fixed that? It's because I hadn't updated the groups since updating the User SmartGroups. So now this is telling me that this stock is outperforming the S&P. The industry group is cyan. It's been going down, and it's outperforming the group, and it's performing along with the S&P, I should say. Okay. But anyway, there's all kinds of ways that you can work directly from this group, and I like this method better. I think it's much less confusing and clear, because it hands us the stocks, and then we can go in and look for other things. Let's go a little further here. Here is 3 and 6 crossover that includes pocket pivots also. This is CyberArk. I already looked at this, didn't I? But here are the pocket pivots, and this stock, RX Site, it's building up some momentum, some volumes coming into it. The VPOC crossover, but it's got to get through resistance here. Every time it tries to go through, it looks like it gets rejected. Let's look at the weekly chart on this, see if I have it up here. Okay. Wow, this has been was strong for several weeks, and it's stalling right now, but it may go again. That's probably one that might be worth putting in a watch list. Okay, let's move on. I want to do a few more of these. I don't want to drag it out forever. Here's the continuation indicator. Remember, I showed you this chart last week. These stocks either have a pocket pivot today or they have a effort to rise. You can see over here there's an effort to rise right here. Let's look at LEGN, and it didn't have a pocket pivot, but it had an effort. No, that's not right. That's an ADR. What's going on here? Let's try this one. Okay, here's a pocket pivot here on this one. This is CyberArk again. That other one here has pocket pivots also. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. My point is, you can use any scan you want to, or any of your own scans. But I have a lot of good scans in here. Perfect speculator stocks. These are stocks that are hitting a 52-week or 3.25 year high, and they're coming out of that group. These are stocks that are up today, and they hit a 52-week high or a 3.25 year high yesterday. So a lot of strength in these stocks. All right, I want to go down, click on one I call the market leaders. These are all market leaders. You can see a lot of these same stocks are coming up here. And if you want to look at stocks that are the most active up intraday based upon my filter, it's right here. It's number 10. These are most active up. There aren't going to be any active down because I'm looking at stocks that are these stocks are up for the day. So these are the most active based upon volume. Here is John, are you on? I don't know if he is or not. He was looking at Dollar General the other day, commenting that, yeah, I think maybe he's on, commenting that it was coming up, and you can see that the volume is above average here. Here's a 90 period moving average, and you can see the volume is already well above that, and the projected volume is up here. So this tells us, oh, come on, can't grab it. For some reason, I cannot grab, oh, that's probably why. Nope, it won't let me grab it for some reason. And that's too bad. I'm going to have to go to a different chart. Okay, so anyway, this stock has been bottom fished. Here's a stopping volume. Here's a stopping volume with a close near the high. This is a strength, an up bar closing near the high. And you can see there was a test and a confirmation of that test. And this is moved from the, what level here? That's at around 154 level from that stopping volume, and it's now up at 165, and it got as high as 167 today. So if you're inclined to bottom fish, and especially these well-known names, that's a relatively low-risk trade. And how was it found? It was found several ways. Let's look at this again. I'm going to put a crosshair on this one. Okay, the first indication were the VPA flags. And then there's the volume point of control turning positive. And then there were pocket pivots right here on the low volume test, another pocket pivot here, and the 3 crossed the 6 on this day, it looks like right here. So the early buyers, if you have a stomach for this stuff, and the funds with a lot of money and so on, they'll go in and buy these stocks. Why not? First of all, it's other people's money usually that they're buying with. So it's a lot easier to buy with somebody else's money than it is with your own. Or at least that's the way I look at it. But there are opportunities on these, especially when you start seeing multiple VPA flags. Okay, so these are the most active ups today. Let me bring this back. I'm not going to go through all these, but you can just go through and you can figure out what most of these are. Let's see if there was a test for supply or strength returning with a fan up. There was one. And right here is the test for supply. I don't think I'm getting... I mean, that test for supply... Hang on a second. I know what I'm doing wrong. I turned off my intraday. That's why. Okay. I didn't want it updated. This is what confused me. The test for supply was there and it should have been yesterday. And it was. So what we're seeing here is a confirmation of that test. I thought I had just changed it to manual, but I made a mistake and turned it all the way off. Okay? I hope I didn't confuse anybody. Test for supply or strength seen returning no fan. These, we know these are up because once again I'm still prospecting in that same group, and these all showed a test for supply yesterday or a strength seen returning. Now this Toro company, a well-known company, 2 days ago shows a test for supply and strength seen returning yesterday. Let's look at it. Here we go. Let's make it bigger. Let's zoom in on it. Okay, here's your dividend day. Right here is strength seen returning after that, and then today it's moving up. Here was your test, which showed up in the warehouse, and then a strength seen returning and a nice move up today. Here they are right here. Strength seen returning yesterday and test for supply the day before. Oh, is somebody trying to say something? Okay, let's move on here. Now just go through, do this yourself, update this group intraday, and then run through these or run through whatever you want to. Run through the undercut and rally scans. Those are good scans there too. Make sure you use the intraday views. So this is a 3 under the 6 with a fan up. And this is that AEHR. This is a stock that really has had a nice move. I was in it clear back here and got out and didn't pay any attention to it. And if I had been paying attention to the 3 crossing the 6, it happened clear back here. And then you can see these other moving averages crossed as it moved up. So once again, here's your impulse. You want to catch them on the reaction, not chase them on the impulse. And what do we have here? We have a reaction, and this is where we want to be looking for them. The 3 hasn't crossed the 6 yet, but if you look very closely, you can see it's close to doing that. So this is a stock that should certainly be in a watch list, or you could even buy it. And well, don't take my recommendation though. Just I'm saying it's setting up nicely. Paul was at green flag combo on the prior stock. Okay, so I don't want to belabor this, but I do want to take this a little bit further. I said I didn't want to belabor it. Now I'm going to do that. what I want to do is I want to pause and come back to it. Let's go back though to that designer. I started the recording again, so I'm getting this. Okay, so I want to review this. When you install the add-on today, you're going to have these. You're going to have, boy, this is slow today. You're going to have the Woodward and Brown SmartGroups, which I went in and I made User SmartGroups, and I'm pulling stocks directly from the Woodward and Brown User SmartGroups. So you could look at these at night. You could do your prospecting there. Here's moving to the upside 1 to 15 and to the downside. Remember this group right here, the 100 stocks and groups moving up and down, comes from this group right here, which I'm looking at. The closing prices on the stocks that are going to be in this group right here are going to move up to this group at the end of the day. So, if that didn't confuse you, and I hope it didn't, just think of this, just look at this, end of days. 100 stocks and groups moving up and down, end of day. 100 stocks and groups moving up and down, intraday. I say rebuild the User SmartGroups before you do this so you can get what's current. All right, another thing. Now, I started that thing on Sunday, looking at the 25 stocks for a watch list. So in the non-index groups now, which are currently in the January add-on, and they'll ultimately be in this add-on too when I get where I want to go, when I finish with this series. I'm going to start tracking these every day, okay? So we can see if we're getting some decent setups out of these groups. So let me just show you this. This is from the 16th or last Friday. What you're going to be able to do is in the designer under the group performance analysis at the end of the week, and I'll probably do this in my video. Here is June. Okay, so these stocks are from the 16th. So the opening price right here, you select opening price from the 19th, which is Monday, but we didn't have to do the 20th because Monday was a holiday, wasn't it? So there's only 2 days, opening price and then the closing price on the 21st. After today, you could move it to the 22nd. But I'm going to choose my groups. I'm going to run both of them at the same time. Okay, so we're selecting these two groups from the 16th. See the 16th on here? And this is through last night's close. So here's the two groups, and you can do this every day. You can do this with your own groups to see how your selections are doing. I'll say here's the end of day fan up 3 and 6 cross after the pullback, 25 stocks. These are setting up. So the crossovers for 2 days were up 1.40. The S&P was down 0.57. There were 9 gainers, 15 losers, or 37.5 and 62.5. Now, the market was crappy yesterday, so it was a loser. And today, even though the indexes say the market's up, the internals tell us a different story. Okay, now this is setting up after a pullback. This group did a little better. 14 up, 11 down, 56% gainers, 44% losers. And then you can go down here and you can look at the winners and the losers. This is the crossover. The best performer as of last night was MicroStrategy because of its relationship with Bitcoin. Okay? When Bitcoin moves, MicroStrategy moves either up or down just with whatever Bitcoin's doing as a rule. So that was up 10.44%. The next best one was Liquidia Corp, LQDA, and the worst performer was a gold precious metal and mining stock. So they must have fallen out of favor. But at the end of the week, with Friday's close, when I do a video next week, I'll run this and we'll see if any of those stocks performed well. Okay, we're recording again. I don't really remember where I was, unfortunately. Oh, I know. I ran the performance on these groups. So anyway, I'm going to try to remember to capture these groups every day and just see how they work out over the long term, because all they are is providing a quick list if you don't want to spend a bunch of time looking for stocks for potential low risk entries. You'll get the new Smart Groups, Tom, when you install the add-on. I've put them up there already. Everything I'm showing here. And, okay, let me go back to the designer. See if there's anything else I would need to talk about in here. You will find these in here, and you know this already, under the add-on groups. But when I save them every day, if you're a member of the Insider Club, they're going to be saved every day here in folder number 13. You can see that I start on Friday. Here's Tuesday and here's Wednesday. There will be Thursday in there tomorrow and Friday. Okay? And then we'll be able to go back in time, look at the history, see what they did. My purpose will be look at the ones that did go to the long side, and when did they go? Why did they go? Was it the crossover? Were there pocket pivots? Was it the volume point of control? Was it VPA? You name it. We will be able to analyze. Of course, you know, you're looking backwards, of course, but at least you can see why and when these stocks took off. We'll take into consideration the group movement, the market. The market, as we all know, is a huge factor in whether stocks move or not. So we have to take that into consideration too. Okay, now let me see. I want to point out that on all of these groups, and I haven't gotten through all of them, that I'm trying to standardize on this view. The relative strength and the Kirkpatrick are in here after the crossover days. I think these are the most important things. And of course, the group movement does come into play also. Now, I haven't, like I said, I haven't gotten through all of these groups yet. Changing them, it's really a time-consuming process, because I have to go in and copy and duplicate and then change the field. So basically, let's just look at this continuation indicator in this group. Like I said before, I've got the Wyckoff indicators here, the days since a crossover, very important. The relative strength, comparison to the S&P over 5 and 10 days, a percentage price change, 1 day, beginning of the week, and the range, volume, and so on, and then the industry. Some of them have the sector, not very many. Most of them just have the industry percentage price change. And then I have the VPA signal conditions. VPA signal, if there's a signal, you sort on this, and they'll come up, and then there's a signal condition and the prior day signal. So stocks, for example, with 2-day signals, this tells me immediately that there was a test for supply 2 days ago, and then yesterday an up bar closing near the high, and this is the end of day. Let's see what this is doing today. Well, I know they're up. I should know they're up because I'm in the same group. So going back, see, I've cut off some of the real estate by using a larger font, but that's okay. So on this one, this is what I was going to look at. It's up today, barely. But if I bring this chart up, when I'm looking at the warehouse view, I know that there is a test for supply here. And then yesterday, there was a confirmation of that test with an up bar closing near the high. And this column right here tells me that there was a VPA flag yesterday. Okay, sure, Mike. I'll try to remember to do it every day because I want to see how well they work, obviously. And there's going to be plenty of winners just coming out of those groups, and it's just taking the top 25 based upon a demand combo. So we're not going to catch everything, but geez, out of 25 stocks, I think we should be able to pick up some winners, especially if the market is going in our direction. Now, another thing I want to point out is I'm getting down here into the VPA stuff. Well, actually, before I get into the VPA stuff, I want to. This is actually a good place to look every day because we want to look for leaders, right? What's a leader? Well, the way I've set it up on this is I'm looking for stocks that have both a ACSI RS rank of 90 and a Kirkpatrick. If they're both in there, this tells me these stocks are strong. And then I am looking for stocks that have outperformed the S&P over the past 21 days. So this gives me leadership stocks. And let's see what's in here. Get this out of the way. LEGN. Let's bring it up. I'll zoom out. Let's look over here at the weekly chart. First, you can see that it had a massive move and then it digested that move for 6 weeks or so. And then it started moving again. The last 3 weeks, it's been going higher. It's clearly in an uptrend. If we use that third higher high rule, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink. On the weekly, here, I'm not going to get that drawing tool out again right now. Here's the first higher high. It took out this high, second higher high when it took out that high, and third higher high right there. So it's in a weekly uptrend. Here is the impulse, and then here is the reaction. Could be a cup, kind of a cup. It is a cup, and here is a handle, and now it's moving out. So this is a leading stock. You can see it both in the weekly and the daily charts. And I mentioned in the past, not today, that the longer term charts have a tendency to dominate. So if a stock is moving up on a weekly chart and it pulls back like this, the weekly is the dominant chart. And more than likely, in this instance, it found support at the 50-day. In this instance, the odds, especially when you start seeing some accumulation here, are that it's going to go up because it's going to follow the dominant chart. Doesn't always work that way. We've seen that because in these long downtrends, like with Dollar General, the weekly chart is dominant, which means there was resistance on it. Let me bring up DG. And you can see that this is clearly in a downtrend. We don't have 3 higher highs here yet. We have 1 higher high and 2 higher highs, but we have to wait for this week to be over to use that as a indicator. So the dominant chart here is still down. But with these VPA flags here and the 3-6 crossover, we know there's accumulation going on. But as a rule of thumb, the weekly chart is the dominant chart. On the other hand, if you just look through here, you can see based upon the relative strength ranks, these are both above 90. And you can see the performance versus the S&P outperformed the S&P by 3% over 5 days, and it's flat 10 days. I don't have the 25 in here. I didn't want to, or 21, I didn't want to put too many columns in. Let's look at Tesla. This one's been on the move. This is a leadership stock. Going over here, okay, here's your first higher high. Here's your second higher high. Even though it's a red candle, this high got higher than this one. And then right here, when it hit this level, put a crosshair on, there's your third higher high here. So it's trending up. And what was the date on this right here? That is, well, it updated and moved on me. Okay, right in here, that is the week of May 19th. So May 19th with a crosshair on here. Right in here is where this really turned into a weekly trend again, and it started moving up here, and you can see the 3-6 crossover right here, and then the 618 crossover, but it was starting to move here, even though this was in a downtrend based upon the moving averages. Here, the weekly had turned to an uptrend using that 3 higher highs rule. And look at it. I mean, yeah, it's an expensive stock, but and I could kick myself because this was a perfect setup for debit spreads. You could have played multiple debit spreads. Yeah, thanks, Tom. There's an awful lot in here. We're going to be working on thinning these down over the longer term. So this is a good one though. Look for the leaders. See if you can jump on the leaders with a pullback. Now here's box stocks, $75 or less. Here's a pullback right here for you. These are leaders that have pulled back. You can see the pullback right here. Let me go to the intraday. Because I know these are up for today. This is why I like having this smart group where I can just click on it and then go in and prospect. So I can see that I'm looking at some long-term leaders that have pulled back on the 3 and the 6 and the VPOC. Both of them have pulled back, but they're up today. So this is an opportunity. Let's look at this one. I haven't looked at it yet. An opportunity right here on a long-term leader. It meets the criteria of the filter, but it's pulled back and it's starting to go again. So once again, here is the impulse. Here's the reaction, and it's possibly going up again. Low risk trade because you put your stop in below that and then put your buy point right there, somewhere in there, and it's a leader. Okay? These are good scans. Now what this is pullback 3. Here the VPOC is up. Nothing is coming through on that one. Strongest performers end of day. What did I change on this? Let's take a look. Oh, I know. I'm limiting it to the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 because I'm really interested in what the institutions are looking at. And these two groups contain most of the stocks the institutions look at. See, greater than 50% institutions was a requirement also. So we have a couple of strongest performers that are included in today's stocks, $15 and up. And there you go. You like that? So there's all kinds of stuff. I'm making your head swim. Okay, so look under long-term leaders, and then here's leaders up and down on volume. These, but I want intraday. Okay, there's only one that passed this. So I'm looking for a long-term leader that's up on heavier volume. Look at that today. Look at this. I mean, look, perfect. Here's impulse, a big reaction, but then look at this, a test, confirmation of that test, and then it took off again, right off of the 50. We just have to look for these, and hopefully those smart groups are going to pull a lot of these up. Okay, leaders down on volume. These are some of the leaders which were down today or yesterday, but intraday they weren't down. And here's most active. You can just go through these. I'm not going to go all that, but I want to point out that there's a whole section on volume price analysis. I don't know if any of you have spent time looking through here, but all of the individual scans are in here. And if you just like a specific look, here's test for supply intraday. All of these stocks that are up in here had a test for supply yesterday. See that? Test for supply. Overstock. It was moving this morning while it got up here, and then they sold into it, didn't they? But here's your test for supply. Now, Paul says J flag. Well, let's go under the up bar closing near a high after test that confirms strength. This is what is referred to as a J flag because an HGSI user named Jay said, I'm picking up a lot of winning stocks using this combination. So it finds these stocks for us with a test and a confirmation of that test, and then you just apply it to this group during the day. Little different look here. Here's your test and a little different symbol, high volume up bar. It's just the combination of these two, an up bar closing near the high. So anyway, that's nice. And also this same scan under the 2-day scans, low vol, I have some others, low volume tests followed by effort up. I want you to just go through these. I can't take the time to go through all of these in these webinars, but you can go through and see what they do. On the individual VPA flags, I took the time a long time ago to, if you click on this right here, it explains what a low volume test is. Okay, I went to all that work. This has been in there for a couple of years, and it tells you what a low volume test is. Let's see, what's an effort to rise? See if I put that in there. Effort to rise bullish sign. So if you don't know what these VPA flags do, go into the individual scans, click on one. It tells you there's an explanation of what the VPA flag is. And these can be really powerful. One thing, let's see, I can't go too much longer. Let me see if I can find this. Okay, bullish and bearish one-day reversals. Now, the VPA code in HGSI does not have these signals. But the guy who originally wrote the code has put these signals in his program so it would be like an Amy broker and so on. But it's not going to be in ours, so I thought, well, I'm going to just see if I can come up with something with a one-day reversal. So I'm still in this S&G, $15 and up, and let's see if this worked. I don't know. I'm taking a chance here, right? Okay, so this was a one-day reversal to the upside right there after this negative candle. Here's your one-day reversal, and it followed through today. It's not perfect, but it's the best I could do. There's not... Okay, here's a one-day bearish reversal that these stocks are up today. So let's just look at Kemper. Well, this wasn't a real good example, but it's a red candle, so I considered that a bearish reversal. Let's just go to a plain old naked chart. See, this is giving conflicting signals right here on the VPA. But that was compared to this day, this was kind of a one-day reversal. Let's see if we can find a better example. Spotify. Okay, here's your one-day reversal, but now it's up today. So putting it in perspective, here's the stocks and groups up intraday once again, but I'm applying the one-day reversal on here so I can immediately see stocks that had a negative reversal yesterday that are going up today. Make sense? Here it is again, one-day reversal on this, but buyers came in today to support it. So I put these in recently. So just play with these and see if they work out for you. And I may take another look at the filters, see if I can improve. But I think they work pretty well. This is a perfect one right here. Okay, I've got somebody coming over here at 3:30, a contractor. I need to talk to him. So any questions on this? Did I confuse you? I hope not. But like Tom said, the key is using these smart groups intraday if you like to do intraday prospecting. You're welcome, Robert and Paul and everyone else. But just concentrate, run it during the day and use these. 1 to 15 and $15 up if you're looking for shorts. Look at the stocks and groups going down. Maybe I'll do a session on that.